County Commission meeting dated the 20th of November 2018. We're here in Great Ogden, Utah County. Glad to have you all here. Nice little crowd. Seated to my left is Commissioner James Ebert. Seated to my right, Commissioner Scott Kent Jenkins. We'll start this morning with an invocation by Carlo Makapugai, and following his prayer, we'll have a pledge of allegiance by Ms. Shelley Allison, and then our thought of the day will be given by Commissioner Jenkins. We'll go to that point. Mr. Makapugai.
Thank you, sir. Let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we praise you and we thank you for gathering us here today. Father, may our hearts and minds and our mouths be filled with thanks, especially this Thanksgiving week. You've given us a wonderful county to live in. You've given us great county leaders. And Father, we praise you for the citizens that live here as well. Citizens that want to be informed and they want to be involved in what goes on here. Lord God, may we always praise you for all of the good things that you bring to us, and sometimes the bad as well. That way we may grow in our faith, and that we may progress. Again, Father, we praise you and we thank you for this place and this meeting. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen.
Please rise and join me in reciting the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. It's good to have you here this morning with us. My thought today has to do with this last week. We had the highs and the lows this last week. We buried Major Taylor, and it was real low. You hated to see the pain and grief that his family was going through. I felt so bad for them. It's been a tough week on them, and we were out of town, so we couldn't attend the funeral. But anyway, on the high side, last Tuesday, before we left town, we had all the veterans, World War I veterans, that we could, World War II veterans, thank you, that we could round up in here. And this morning when I got back, we had some cards that they had written us, thanking us for what we did. And it was really, really on the high side. It was a very positive event. And I'm so glad that as a commission we decided to take a few minutes and honor these individuals, and it was just a great day. I'm so happy about the way it all turned out. So anyway, let's not forget those around us, especially this week, Thanksgiving, right? And so let's be thankful for what we have around us. It's a great time to live. It's a wonderful place to live. And we have wonderful people to share our lives with, and for that I'm grateful.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I want to include in that you two. You've been partners to work with, especially you, James. You bet.
Thank you.
You're a little better than Jim.
He's a lot better. That's okay. That's okay.
Not really.
I appreciate you talking about the same World War I guys that I was talking about last week. Yeah, they all looked. The thing is when I accidentally said World War I last week, and all the guys, they were all seated towards this front row. They all looked at each other and said, "We're not from World War I. That's like our dads or grandpas." Like they were. It's okay. It was kind of fun to see from his perspective. Wonderful to have you. Wonderful. Appreciate those thoughts and sentiments. We're now on item E of our commission agenda, which are public comments. For those of you in the audience who have come or would like to come and address the commission right here at the pulpit, would invite you to come up to the pulpit or lectern, whatever it is. State your name, your address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes if you would. Are there any that would like to do that now?
Bill Davis. I live at 7598 West, 900 South. I'm here about the 12th Street Road project. It's been going on for 3 years. I'm They quoted you as it was going to be completely finished, talking with the contractor and the water district. The water district is only going to 7,900, and the storm drains are only going to 7,500. That's not completion of the road. My concern is I believe it was 2 years ago, we got flooded out there because of the rain and the snow and stuff. If you pipe the ditches to 7,500, from 7,500 on, it'll be open ditch that has not been cleaned since Kelly Hippo was over the roads. And I have a concern there, all that water's going to come down. Where is it going to go? Number two is I haven't settled with the county. We've had numerous meetings. I've met with Mr. Harvey, Commissioner Harvey. We sat down with all the attorneys a year ago next month. The county had 5 items to do, and I'm a man of my word. I would sign off, and I'm not a big fan of the road, but progress needs to move on. The county has not done one thing in that year. They're ready to go out there to start. They got to run the water line on my property. They got to move the fences and everything. And I'm going to end up being the bad guy because you guys have not moved forward and tried to do anything there. So I'd kind of like you guys to look into it. I'd like to get it resolved so that I can move on with my life after 3 years. Thank you.
Respectfully accepted. Thank you, Bill. Mr. Wilkinson, I'd like you to come up and address Mr. Davis's concerns, if you would. Mr. Wilkinson's the head of our Community Development Department.
Thank you, Commissioners. I am familiar with the situation out on 12th Street. I know we have a few remaining individuals that we are working with to finalize the agreements and the improvements that need to be done. I am personally going to meet with Mr. Davis and figure out exactly what is going on so that we can put this one to bed. This will not continue the way it has been going, and we will get it taken care of.
Thank
When
you.
you get that taken care of?
Let me meet with Mr. Davis, and we will.
So when you get that taken
yes.
care of, I want you to report back to us what happened to those 5 items.
I will definitely do
Because
that.
he's got a good point. You've had a year to deal with those 5 items. If he hasn't been contacted in a year,
Yes.
that's not right.
I know there's been contact,
Oh,
and there have been several meetings. I'm not sure on the progress or the updates there. So I need to talk to our engineers, and I need to talk to Mr. Davis, and I will report back to you.
Can we add also on those 5 items, maybe a schedule for cleaning those ditches and addressing that specific issue?
Yes, I'm meeting with Joe Hadley later today, and I will address that issue.
Let's make it those 6 items.
You got it.
Thank you very much.
So
Mr.
in a meeting that we had just a little while ago, we actually talked about his drain ditch and the drain that we're doing to relieve his issue.
Correct.
Okay, so I know that it's in the work.
That's right. We met about 2 weeks ago
Yeah.
and talked about that.
Okay,
All we need to do is just communicate that to him.
Yes.
Mr. Davis has been fine. He's been, every time we've met with him, he and his wife has been reasonable. He's been good to deal with. I think he's been fair. I'm saying that on the public record, Chris, so everybody can hear that. I've enjoyed the relationship, getting to know him. I can tell you, Mr. Davis, from this body, from the budget standpoint, over the last 2 or 3 months, we've specifically addressed and will be paying much better attention than we have over the last decade with cleaning ditches and putting attention to ditches. And yours will be right there towards the top of that whole process. But I have true faith in Mr. Wilkinson, and I accept responsibility on the other side for not seeing that through. I will take responsibility for that other part, but I can tell you with Mr. Wilkinson, he's a man of his word, and he'll make sure it goes forward for you. And we are as anxious, but now we'll show you as you to get that done. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Very good. Commissioners, excuse me, to the audience, are there any other comments for this commission body? Wonderful. Excuse me.
morning. My name is Larry Roberts. I live at 903 East 1750 South in Clearfield. My concern is I have a 33-year-old son who is autistic. He's living in a group home there in Roy. He has not been getting the care he needs and stuff, and I've been trying to help him out as best I could. But I have no guardianship over him yet. I'm trying to work on that right now. But he's his own guardian, from what I gathered from the people that Chrysalis he's under. And I'm trying to get him out there, but he's still complaining about about the people he's under, the managers and the supervisors and all that up top. He got hurt the other day, and they would take him to the hospital. I gave him the number to the dispatch, just in case this happens again. I also told him he can call the authorities if he needs to, because I can't do anything right now. But I would like to try to get him out of there and back into my home as his father. And another thing about that was last time I saw him, he was only a baby, and I just barely contacted him about 4 months ago. As you know, and he's 33 years old. So it's been 33 years that I have not seen my boy. And he was dropped off by his adoptive parents, and they moved to Arizona, and his mother moved to Arizona, and his adoptive parents not taking care of him and doing what's right for him. If we can work something out, or if we can, talk to you individually in a room somewhere, I can get my son on the phone, and he can tell you what's going on with Chrysalis and his situation. I appreciate your time and my listening for me. Thank you.
Thank you. I've asked Commissioner Ebert to give you a little response on that, as this particular item would be in his portfolio.
So the issue I think that we're running into, where the county will have to try to mediate a little bit, is many of these entities are private facilities, and the private facilities are licensed to the state. They're heavily licensed to the state. How many individuals can be on site at the facility? How many people have to be providing the service? So I think there's over 3 people, then they actually have to have somebody there 24 hours a day. Reporting for the licensing of individuals who are injured or have issues there at the homes. And so where the county would become probably involved, would be more of a mediator between the individuals and the state entities, the State Department of Health. And they have actual sub-departments that would maybe go do additional inspections. I'm not sure how the county would interject into custody. I think that would be something that would be done through the court systems, but we have civil attorneys that can help us maybe point you in the right direction.
Yeah. I would be happy to meet with the individual afterwards to give some referrals to some resources that would be able to help answer those questions.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any others that would like to come to the commission before we move on? None being recognized, we will, commissioners, now move on to item G, which is item F, like Foxtrot. Our consent items. Number 1 on item F is a request for approval of warrants 1605 to 1614 and 434,024 to 434,171 in the amount of $1,744,000, $44,089.18. Item 2 is a request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $115,095.61. Item 3 is a request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on November 13th, 2018. Item 4 is a request for the Weber County Sheriff's Office approval of 2 surplus radios. Item 5 is a request for approval of retirement agreement by and between Weber County and Brent Tonks. So, commissioners, questions regarding any of these items? None being recognized, I'll entertain a motion. Excuse me. Before we do that, Mr. Hatch, will you give us a little more detail on some of those warrants and purchase orders and what for?
Absolutely. We issued 14 purchase orders this week for $115,000. 41% of that amount, or $47,000, is for our Homeland Security Department, and that was to purchase a 3D scanner. 23%, or $26,000, was for the Ogden Eccles Conference Center, and that was to purchase projectors. 19%, or $22,000, is for our Health Department, and that will be used to purchase vaccines. And 11%, or $12,000, is for our jail, and that will be to purchase inmate clothing. As far as checks go, we wrote 158 checks this week for $1.7 million. 45% of that amount, or $791,000, was employee health insurance, health, vision, dental, retiree insurance, etc. 11%, or $191,000, was our monthly payment to the paramedic fund. 10%, or $177,000, is our monthly contribution to the Weaver Human Services Department or organization. 6%, we had 6% for a little over $100,000. One was for the jail, and that primarily went to food and counseling for inmates. And the other is for our public defenders, public defender service that we provide. 5%, or $89,000, was on behalf of the library, and that was to purchase books and materials as well as software maintenance. That's it.
Very good, Ricky. Thank you. Commissioners, does that provide any more questions?
I do have some.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay, first thing, projectors, $26,000. That's got to be 20 projectors.
I don't know exactly how many that is, but there's someone, an expert in the audience, who would be able to answer that.
Please.
Yes, please.
We recently requested about a $70,000 capital investment at the conference center to bring audiovisual services in-house.
Oh, that's
We
right.
calculated about a less than 2 year ROI on that by capturing 100% of the revenue as opposed to only 40.
Remember that.
So these projectors are part of
They're
that,
part of that.
to go into that audiovisual department.
Okay.
It was like 7 projectors. They were
Okay.
fairly expensive, but nice.
Very,
projectors.
very nice projectors.
Yeah, they are.
Look at Chris.
Yeah, if you come tonight to the Christmas tree Jubilee, you'll see those in operation.
So not only have you done this, but you've followed through with it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Huh?
Appreciate it.
And the value of bringing it in-house is now we have a little more control over our product that we put out there.
Well,
Which is
and-
probably one of the biggest.
And that's also gravy, so it's a smart, for ROI is less than 2 years, that's a great ROI.
All right, the next question I have is a 3D scanner. Can we get into that just a little bit? Who's this for?
That's also,
This is for Homeland Security, and I don't have additional information on the 3D scanner. I'll have to ask them. I don't know if they purchased that through a grant for the jail, or I'm not sure.
I'd make a motion that we approve these with that 3D scanner not on the list. I want to get into that a little.
The only comment I would make is usually about 90% plus of what we purchase through Homeland Security is federal grants. So my guess is this is going to be a pass-through with the grant money coming in off of our expenditure. But I will second that motion.
great, we have a motion and a second to approve the items except for the 3D scanner. Call for the vote, all in favor? Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Item number G on our agenda is a request for approval of the 2018 midterm general election canvass. We are already in Weber County on the agenda, placed from early last week, ready to hear about the canvass. This has got to be the most effective and efficient elections department in at least the state, if not the nation. Mr. Ryan Calley.
Thank you. I don't know about the universe. That's stretching it a little
At least the Pluto.
Well, we'll just stick with Weber County. I think we do a pretty good job here with our election. So before you have the finalized results, I'd just like to go through a couple of things and kind of walk you through a little bit of the election. The story of this election really is voter turnout. We had 81,826 votes cast. That's more than double what we had in the midterms 4 years ago. That's almost presidential numbers from 2016, which was a record turnout. Part of that is obviously driven by Vote by Mail. That's had a large impact on getting voters engaged. It has a lot to do with the propositions and the candidates that were on the ballot.
Marijuana. It has a lot to do with marijuana.
Cannabis obviously was a big driver in that. It also has a lot to do with what's going on nationally, but that's a pretty staggering number if you really think about that, how many people participated in this election. That's a great thing. I think that's a positive sign of what's going on. I went all the way back to 1994 looking at midterm election and turnout, and the most ballots we'd had cast in any midterm period was 45,000. And so this really truly is a staggering number for a midterm election. Going on down, we mailed out 103,000. Well, first of all, in the drop boxes, we had a lot of success with the drop boxes. We had 62% of the ballots that were returned by mail. Basically dropped off in the drop boxes. A lot of that has to do with providing 24-hour outdoor drop boxes. That's one of the trade-offs that we do as far as not paying postage. That's a county option to do that, but in return for that, we've put these drop boxes at 20 locations around the county, at every single city hall and at all of our libraries. The Valley does not have an outdoor drop box yet, but we have one purchased, and there's a couple of improvements that they need to make there. And when those improvements happen, we'll get a drop box there. 25,000, almost 26,000 of those ballots were dropped off Monday and Tuesday of election day, and so that's a lot of ballots to process in a short amount of time. Yes.
Do you have a drop box at the library in the Upper Valley?
There is a drop box. There's a 24-hour drop box at Huntsville City, and then there's an indoor drop box currently. And then when they do the charging station for the electric car, we have a spot picked out in a drop box that's in storage, ready to implement there.
Thank you.
So there is a 24-hour option. It's just not at the library where we'd like to have it as well. We mailed out almost 104,000 ballots. Of those, basically 1,500 were undeliverable, or 1.4%. That's an incredibly low number of undeliverable mail. When you do a regular mailing, they tell you to expect about a 10% undeliverable rate. And there's a lot of things that we did internally to lower that number, to make sure that we were delivering ballots to the correct households, to the correct people. In total of the ballots that we received back, 512 of those were not counted. 106 of those were returned after the deadline. 130 of those were not signed by the voters. 84 were first-time voters, and federal law requires that they provide some sort of ID in with their ballot. So 84 returned their ballots without that necessary identification. 181 had mismatching signatures, and there were 11 other types of ballots that we didn't count. But of those ballots that weren't counted, every single one of those voters were notified and had the opportunity to correct the deficiency. And we did that within 24 hours of us rejecting a ballot. We notified the voter, and they had up until 5 p.m. yesterday to correct that. We had 1,400 ballots basically that went through that process, and of those we had the 512 that weren't counted.
So in these, do you suspect any fraud?
There is some fraud, and we do have some that we will follow up with our attorneys that we will send letters to. Some of them voted twice, some of them are signed by somebody else in the household, but it is a very low number. We have brought in handwriting experts on occasion to provide training to us. We're not handwriting experts when we verify these signatures, but we have gone through that training to help identify that. And so, yes, there is always going to be a little bit of fraud, but it's a very minute amount. And most of that I feel like we do catch. And
It's interesting. I had a neighbor out there get a hold of me that their ballot had been rejected because the signatures didn't match. And I told him, I says, well, and he contacted you and eventually got it correct. But I told him, I said, this is good that they get down to the level where they look at your signature. He says, well, I sign things all the time. And I said, well, maybe in the last couple of years, your signature, you're a little more wobbly than it used to be. But I says, this ought to make you feel good that they are putting enough effort into this to check your signature.
And it does take a lot of time. Every signature is manually verified, and people's signatures do change. Sometimes people have their check signature, their other signature. But the thing that I really like about the way that Utah law reads is it does provide the opportunity for the voter to correct that. So in the instance of your friend, you have a mismatch, but they have the opportunity to correct that, to get that right. So,
Thank you.
very good. The other big story of the election is the provisional ballots. We had 3,389 provisional ballots cast. That's more than 1,000 more than we had cast in the presidential election in 2016. I think a good portion of that is related to same-day registration, which is something that I think is a benefit to people, but we've got to figure out now how to handle that. Basically, that equates to 50 labor hours in each polling place dedicated just to handling provisional ballots. And that's if we can process those in 5 minutes each, which is a lot of time spent doing that. And so we've got to figure out ways to get people to register prior to election day, because that does facilitate the process. It takes away the paperwork, and ultimately that's what leads to people standing in line and waiting to vote for those provisional ballots. I think that's also a testament to the poll workers that we have, and I can't express enough thanks and gratitude to the work that they did. You know, our staff went out to multiple polling places to help move voters along, to help process these provisional voters, and to see the dedication that the poll workers put into a job that sometimes is thankless. It's a long day. All told, they spend about 15 to 16 hours in the polling place, but normally they refuse to even take breaks. When you tell them, hey, you know what, go take 10 minutes, they go grab a drink of water, go to the restroom, and they're right back there doing their job, helping these people through the process. And it was awesome and amazing to see the job that they do as they process those. Lastly, before we get to the results, I would just like to take a minute and thank our staff. I think we have one of the best staffs in the state of Utah, and I'm proud to say that in Weber County, we truly do elections the right way. Every vote is treated with care and respect from the first vote to the last. And if they could just stand really quick, we've got Daniel Wade and Candace Warren and Jessica Hastings, and Trinity is our intern from Weber State. But they really, truly do an amazing job coupled with the poll workers. People don't see the amount of time and effort that they put in, and the care that they put in, and the dedication that they have. But I just want that on record and publicly thank them for the job that they do. So with that, I present the final results, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those.
Commissioners, you have those final results in front of you from the midterm general election canvass 2018 presented by Mr. Cali. Thank you so much for doing a fantastic. You're an example to the whole state, of which we know. We just returned from the Utah Association of Counties, where all 29 counties were represented and leading the pack. Almost always is your department, Ryan. And Ricky, I know that falls into your portfolio. Good job, really a good job. Commissioners, any comments for Mr. Cal? If not, I'll entertain a motion. No,
I'd make that motion to accept this. Prove it.
Really happy with the outcome. I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a smart aleck second.
It's still a second, though.
Yeah, it is. I'll take it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, team. Awesome.
Very good. Ms. Skeen. Request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Tourism Tax Advisory Board.
Okay, the Tourism Tax Advisory Board has some board member appointments that need to be done. We have Kim Bouchard, Todd Ferrario, Will Schaefer, who are all currently serving and have agreed to serve another term. So the TTAB board has recommended they be reappointed. Jennifer Graham and Marty Smith are currently serving, and they would be moved to ex officio members. And then the board is recommending to approve Dakota Hyde, Dirk Sanderson, and Spencer Story as new board members. And they've all agreed.
Is this a unanimous recommendation?
From the board, yes.
From the board? Commissioners, do you have comments or suggestion on this? None being heard, I'll entertain a motion.
I would make a motion to approve resolution number 55.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 55.
Commissioner Ebert?
Aye.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Aye. Aye, thank you very much. Fatima, thank you. Mr. Olson, this is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weaver County and Resolution AV for the sound and lights of the 2019 Hof German Fest.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Morning.
Yeah, we're just in the middle of getting ready for the Hof German Fest. It's going to be January 18th and 19th. They used to be Tracks AV. They've changed their name. But they do an awesome job. They come in and give us a real professional feel. Our entertainers like it. Most people that come enjoy the show. So,
How much is that for?
$2,500, and that'll be for all the acts for both days.
You know, one of the things, Commissioners, that I like about this particular, the way they've got this done, is, you know, when you get groups coming in from other countries, and that's not the case this year.
We do have an international.
We have an international. They don't have the same power requirements. They have to be able to adapt between 110 and 220, and that can become tricky. We've learned that sometimes the hard way over the last 20-something years, but these guys can accommodate that. So it's a really good value, and they do a nice product. They get along well with the entertainers. They set up everything digitally and balance everything digitally, so it's well played to the house that they're in, and I think it's a good one.
Yeah, the big part of the contract is that employee of theirs that stays to make sure the music's going good. We don't have the ability to do that, and they do a really good job.
Very good. Commissioners, any other questions?
Motion to approve.
Second. A motion, I was just going to ask for that, and a motion and a second. Call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Let's move on to number 4, Mr. Olson, which is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Gruber Family Band out of Northern California for entertainment at the 2019 Hof Winterfest, German Fest.
Yeah, this is the contract with the Gruber family. They've been here multiple times. I don't know how many, but they are one of the favorites. They're the ones that we kind of place in when the students are there during the German Fest, because they do a great job of interacting with the school district and making sure that we all have a good time.
Very good. Very good. Commissioners, any questions about the Hof German Fest?
And for me, I'll make a motion to approve the contract between Weber County and the Gruber Family Band for the 2019 Hof. Second.
A motion and a second. Call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great.
Commissioner.
Can I ask a quick question before you step away? Duncan, where are we at on food? I know we were looking at doing it in-house. Are we still there?
Yes. So
I had some German food there. It was awesome. I just wanted to ask that quick question.
Yes, so we have been working with our conference center and in-house, and it will be a little bit different. The vendor that used to be a part of the German Fest is no longer able to do it, and we want to keep this alive, and so we're doing everything in our power to be as authentic and as close to historical German Fest that we've done in the past.
Thank you.
Let me just comment on that, because this whole German Fest is important to me. This is one of the things in our county events that I really, really like. It's a little more personal for me. Well, okay, it's both. It's close to my heart and stomach. But anyway, you know, when I was a kid, I had the privilege of going to supper at my grandmother on my father's side and my grandmother on my mother's side. They both cooked authentic American meals. Sometimes they'd have the same thing on the menu, whether it was beef or chicken or potatoes or carrots, whatever it was. But you know, it's the same. While the food was the same, it tasted different at each home. So not every recipe is the same, but each one of my grandmothers were as American as apple pie. So I'm just saying to the folks who may hear this transmission, it'll be great food. We've had some sampling of that. Holy cow, I've had the goulashers, and it was fantastic. So we're we're in for a good experience. It's not going
Hope
to
so.
taste the same way as the same exact recipes are changed, but the quality of the food and what you get there will be fantastic. And the entertainment's going to be terrific.
Yep, that's the
too.
plan.
So, all right, great. Thank
Thank
you
you.
very much. Ms. Stewart, we have item number 5, request for approval of an amendment to the local transportation funding agreement by and between Weber County and Harrisville City to establish terms related to the 1100 North project. Brooke Stewart.
Good morning. Thank you
Good
for having
morning.
me.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Guten Morgen.
Good morning.
Before you is a local transportation funding agreement from Harrisville City for their 1100 North project. Back in March, the commission approved some corridor preservation funding and some sales tax funding for Harrisville City to construct and extend 1100 North from 140 West to 140 East. During the initial design phase, Harrisville City discovered that there was some additional work that would be necessary for them to complete the project, and due to that, the construction for the project, the costs have been based. So Harrisville City submitted an amendment request that was reviewed by the Transportation Subcommittee and then by WACOG and was recommended for approval of an additional $125,052 in sales tax funds to complete that project. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Terrific. Commissioners, any questions? Commissioner Jenkins, you sit on that transportation committee. Any statements or questions or things you want to say there?
Yes, she's right. We approved it.
Great. Got it. Great. Do you have a motion there for us?
Make a motion, we approve it.
I have a motion and a second to approve this agreement, funding agreement between Weber County and Harrisville City for the terms of 1100 North project. Call for the vote. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. We'll now move on to item number 6, Ms. Stewart, which is a request for discussion and or action of Weber Area Council Government 2018 Weber County Local Transportation Fund priority recommendations.
Yes, this is an exciting day for us, and we are so happy to be here. Exactly. We are bringing before you the 2018 Weber County Local Transportation Funds Project Priority List recommendations from the Weber Area Council of Governments. As you're all aware, the county sales and use tax for transportation requires that the Council of Governments annually create and prioritize a list that's submitted to the legislative body for their approval. In November, in the WACOG meeting, the members were presented information on the 6 projects that applied this year. It was totaling about just under $47.7 million in requests. You have that priority list before you. WACOG is recommending that the total award of corridor preservation funds be $3,499,591, and sales tax funds be awarded in the amount of $11,160,609 to fund the following projects that will be programmed for the year 2021. That's the Hooper City 5500 West project, the Ogden City 26th Street project, Ogden City Commuter Rail project, the Plain City 1975 North project, Pleasant View City along White Boulevard project, and the Pleasant View City Skyline Drive project. We are just here looking for your approval of that annual 2018 priority list, and we'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Stewart, correction, on our sheet, you had mentioned, I believe, 11 million in the sales tax. Our sheet shows 14,660.
That's the total recommended with corridor and sales tax combined.
11 million matches up.
Oh, is this right there? Maybe this, we don't have a total on this one. Sure.
That answer your question?
Yes.
So, yes, I made a motion in this committee, and it was approved by WACOG, that we ask UTA to pay their portion of the corridor preservation. We ask for the commuter rail for $3 million, because they have financing available through this quarter% sales tax that is through there now, and they get a portion of that. Anyway, that's on there. And, it'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Yeah. The recommendation from the COG was to partially fund the commuter rail in hopes that they would be able to maximize that funding and go out and seek additional funding sources. However, that was contingent upon that corridor preservation funding being refunded once the construction funds were identified.
Yeah.
That's wise, thank you.
Yeah, well, we thought it was wise. They have dollars, and there are dollars. We're paying them. So we felt like that was only fair.
I remember that at the time. That's wise. Great, super. Commissioners, we have in front of you a presentation that's been forwarded to us by the Weber Area Council of Governments. Recommendation, do you have any more comment regarding that? None being heard, I'll entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we approve item number 6.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve item number 6. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Stewart. Item number 7, Mr. Barron. Item number 7 is a request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Thomson Reuters West Publishing to produce a clear investigative software.
Morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
This contract provides access for the investigators at the Weber County Attorney's Office to the Westlaw database. And they've been using this database for years. The contract ends December 31st, and they've asked for us to renew it for an additional 3 years. Any questions for me about this contract or what it does?
None for me.
So your recommendation is we do it?
Yes. It's critical to their function as investigators. It gives them all the information they need to conduct their investigations.
It's as other software things go, it's relatively, it seems like a very good value. So that'd be great.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. I have a motion and a second to approve. Call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Item number 8, Ms. Bybee, is a request for approval of an event lease agreement for waiver of a building rental fees associated with a 300-person competition and reception to be held at the Ogden Eccles Conference Center on March 22nd, 2019. Ms. Cassie Bybee, our general manager there. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioners. Good morning. I wanted.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Not a good morning. All right. Well, I just wanted to let you know that this is a sponsorship that we are providing to Weber State University, and this is contract is with Brandon Stoddard. He's the director of the Entrepreneur Center there. Last year they held this, they approached us last year to do this this event, and we didn't have the space available at the time, so they actually took it down to Union Station. It was very successful, and then they approached us again this year. And so now that we have the dates available that they wanted to hold this event, we are sponsoring, and that's why we're asking for the rental of those certain rooms to be waived.
You know, Commissioners, 20 plus years ago, when the Ogden Eccles Conference Center was created, built, and started to be run, we entered into some agreements with Weber State. Part of this is we'd help them with things like this. So to me, this is just keeping our word with what we promised back then. It's a simple partnership that works very well for us. They're a good partner. Any questions on this? None being heard, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion we waive the fee for the building for the 300-person competition reception for March 22nd, 2019.
Second. No more discussion. I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you, Ms.
Thank
Bybee.
you. Thank you.
We'll move on to item H, like hotel. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Ebert, Commissioner Jenkins, any comments for either of the two of you?
I just have something super quick.
Hey, you didn't say good morning, so you could say good morning first.
I don't know good morning in any other language besides German and English, so I'm going to have to go with good morning.
Okay, good. Then go ahead.
I had a gentleman who came in who had some very specific concerns about property values going up and increasing. tax burden upon citizens. And the concern that this individual had is that there was a connection between the county's budget growing and the amount of tax that we're collecting and how that was affecting their property values, and if there was some type of collaborative communication between the treasurer's office, the assessor's office, and the commission based upon budget. And I could understand how individuals would wonder if we set a budget and then we collect to that budget. Thus, their property tax increases based upon decisions we can specifically make for the budget. And I just wanted to take 2 seconds, and maybe even Ricky could help to clarify this a little bit, to let people know that's not how budgets are created within the county. The county has a specific legal requirement to have a zero growth budget every single year. And if we grow our budget for any other reason besides new growth coming in, we have to do a truth in taxation. So if our budget is $1 million this year, it will be $1 million next year. And the county will collect $1 million to fund that budget. If for some reason the budget goes above $1 million, or there's a need or request, the county elected officials have to come in front of the citizens and request to collect more than $1 million, and then tell why that is and get the justification out from the citizens. And so what is happening out in the market through your assessed value of your property or the increase in your property taxes you're seeing is not related to the budget that the commission is putting forward every single year. It has other factors such as, the assessed values of your properties going up because we have a very hot market. And the only time is if new growth comes in, if a new house comes in, a new business comes in, those new taxes that were not collected last year then can be counted as new growth and can be put into the budget because those new properties will need additional services. And I just wanted to alleviate or put that out there so citizens can have a little better understanding that there should not be this collaborative content between different elected offices to collect more dollars and increase budgets. In fact, it's usually the opposite. So, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. To piggyback on that so that you're all aware, cost to any business, corporation, government entity, whatever have you, they, in many cases, usually go up. Cost for employees or health insurance for those employees, cost for utilities, cost for transportation, cost for numerous different things, they always increase. It's all growth. That has to do with growth. That's just what happens. One of the things, though, that we can do in the county, we can raise taxes, which we don't agree with, or you can have growth, adding new businesses, new properties, or things like that can create that difference. When we set a tax rate, we set the tax rate. If we had zero growth, we would have zero no dollars. That's how it is. If we had $1 more to a zero growth, we have to come before you in a truth in taxation. Next week, the reason I point this out is next week, Tuesday, at 6 o'clock in this chamber, we will be hearing our budget.
PM.
It's PM. Thank you very much, Commissioners. 6 p.m., 1800 military time. We'll be hearing our budget. We do not plan on raising taxes. It's not a truth in taxation. This is just a budget hearing. We were successful through a great team effort to grow Weber County at a great rate. And so the budget will reflect that. And that's how that works. And so through growth, we've been able to accomplish our goals. And that to us is a smarter way to do business. We also, and I'll say this again, we looked at doing a tax decrease. We wanted to do that, but in years past, there were some funds that were dipped into. In order to make those funds sustainable, it would be responsible to replenish those funds. And at the request of our clerk auditor, our comptroller, we decided to do that instead. And so we're in a really good spot, especially some of those sustainable budgets that a lot of times you don't hear about. They get swept under the carpet. there are some things. So behind the scenes, we're also in a really, really good place. And so I'm really happy, and with no hesitation, do I bring to light that we've got our budget hearing next week at 6 p.m. here in this particular area. So we won't have a 10 o'clock a.m. meeting next week. Commissioner, any other comments? I'll entertain a motion for, wait, one other thing. One last thing. I know what I said, but I'm going to say something anyway. Yeah, here we go. You know, hundreds of years ago, people put aside their differences to sit down and break bread. That's good counsel. I hope that none of us have too much pride where we can't put aside our differences, break a little bread. With that, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
For adjourn.
Lunch is on Harvey today.